Yeah. John. Everybody love the fat man. Everybody love the fat man. I hear them cheering for the fat man.
My name is Johnathan Ivey. Been fighting professionally 15 years. Over 100 professional fights. Originally from Houston, Texas, now fighting out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Sipping on some lean, blowing on some sourdough. Finally got my money right, feels like I won the Powerball. Talking about that Cali Kush, used to buy it by the bush, and I drove them.
I fought everybody, 26 UFC veterans altogether. Ken Shamrock, Jeremy Horn, Rico Rodriguez, Dan the Beast Severn, Ben Rothwell, Tyrone Roberts, Andre the Chief Roberts, Dirty Harry Moskowitz, Justin Eilers. It goes on and on and on. I fought all over the world, in every state probably except Alaska. I think all the other ones I fought in. They call me the LEGLOCK monster because I've got more wins in professional MMA by LEGLOCK than any other fighter on the planet. And I'll put my money where my mouth is. If anybody thinks they can LEGLOCK me, we can get in a LEGLOCK battle, and I'll put mine up, you put yours up, and winner takes the pot.
And speaking of the Hogans, I'd fuck Brooke today, then videotape it and get famous like Kim K. Makes me think about Kanye. Man, I make that good.
I've won a lot of belts. For about 5 years, I was the ECI champion down in Alabama. I was the Quad State grappling champion for like 5 years running weight class and in the absolute. I fought for the King of the Cage super heavyweight title on pay-per-view. I fought for against Ben Rothwell from Boston. Fought for the US MMA heavyweight title. I got more belts than Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I've taught seminars all over Alabama, Tennessee, Texas. I try to give something back to the younger kids and give them a positive role model in the fight game to try to, you know, all kids ain't falling into football, baseball, basketball. Some like fighting, and they can have a positive outlet. Whistle, bitch, Mr. Come Through and serve you. Molly was the hottest club song since grade goo. A-game, bitch, we gon' rip it till the diamonds come. If I could be anything else besides an MMA fighter, I'd probably be a football coach, you know. Other than that, there's not really anything, like fighting was never my dream. You know, this wasn't never my goal. Like, I want to be a pro fighter. I was never that guy. We really had no ambition where I'm from. You know, a lot of motivation to do things. So if it wasn't fighting, it would be something illegal, probably. You know, just, I want to say I'd be a football coach. I want to be that guy, and I want to be good. Right now, I'm in a mood where I don't give a damn. So I'll be honest with you. Probably something illegal. I'd probably be a convict, to be honest. Everybody wants to use me as a stepping stone. I mean, it's no, you know, secret. You know, I don't ever get to fight the hand-picked guys that other guys get to fight. I get, if I get a phone call, it's to fight the guy that's just fixing to break into the UFC. And he can't quite, you know, he ain't got that name on his resume to get him in the UFC. It's happened a million times. When somebody beats me, they're going. And it happened with Sean McCorkle, Jake O'Brien, countless times. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny, like I never got the push to be in the UFC and to fight those guys. I fought 26 guys that have been, but I never got that push to get into it. But as soon as somebody beats me, they're in the UFC. So it's not a mystery what's going on.
chaser, chasing that green paper. I wake up in the morning, I'm yawning but still chasing. Sipping on some lean, blowing on some sourdough.
As far as people picking and choosing who they fight, I don't consider those guys fighters. I consider them mixed martial artists. You know, a fighter will fight anybody, and that's what I've always done my whole career, on short notice, no notice, whether or not I was injured or not. I've never turned down a fight because of who the guy was. If I've ever turned down a fight, it was because of the purse size. And the money always needs to be right. But those guys that don't fight so-and-so because he might beat you, or your skill set don't match up with so-and-so's skill set, those ain't fighters. Those are mixed martial artists, and that's not what I'm about at all. Yeah, MMA has paid my bills for 15 years. You know, and a lot of guys can go to bars and talk to girls and claim to be, you know, making so much money or fighting so much, or typically they're amateur fighters that are fighting for free that are doing that, by the way. But you've never seen anybody like me. I've never had a real job a day in my life, okay? All I've done is fight in the cage. Nobody that knows me has ever seen me without $1,000 in cash in my pocket. Why is that? And look, you ain't got to be a detective. You can go on my Facebook. I've got $20,000, $30,000 in cash strode across my couch. When I get bored, okay, some people do drugs. I don't. You know, some people go out and do criminal activities. I don't. When I get bored, I put cash on different objects in my house and take pictures of it. Go on my Facebook. $30,000 couch. Bam. Who else do you know that ain't never had a real job does something like that? So the next time people want to down Johnathan Ivey, or he ain't this, or he ain't that, or he could have been this, he could have been that, okay? Who's got bigger pockets? Let's play Big Bang Takes Little Bang. Let's do that.
Man, I'm in my zone on that dro in a Molly P, a free TK.
You know, when these guys were younger and they were karateing and kung fuing and wrestling, right? That's not what people in my household were doing. There was hustling going on. There was people trying to make, you know, it was a survival. It was that is frills. That's extra stuff. You know, we didn't have that luxury. You know, we were trying to do other things.
So I'ma start spraying and sending foes through the doors of houses that you lay in, bitch. Maybe then you get the picture when we come through.
You know, without me, MMA in Tennessee wouldn't be, you know, where it's at. When I started fighting, nobody knew what MMA was. They thought it was pro wrestling. You tell people you're an MMA fighter or a cage fighter or an NHB fighter, they asked if you did pro wrestling. People wouldn't know what, you know, as far as I'm concerned, when I started fighting in this area, there wasn't really any fighters. John Rankin, you know, was one. Ed Clay's been around a long time. But as far as like professional fighting athletes, it was non-existent in Middle Tennessee. Right? If it wouldn't have been for me through the rough years, keeping this thing going, all right, people wouldn't know what a leg lock was. They couldn't tell you what a guillotine choke was right now in this area. All right? People would need to give me my props, bro. You know what I mean? I mean, I kind of like led the way on this, and people kind of sleep on me a little bit. And the non-training thing, you know, people beat me by judge's decision. You know, you ain't got to be Sherlock Holmes to Google my name and see how people beat me. It's by judge's decision. And over half of those, 75%, you know, are fights that I took on no notice. I didn't train for those. Do those people really feel good about, you know, they trained for 6 weeks, had a camp, and then I take a fight on 2 days' notice and they beat me by judge's decision? And they feel good about that, you know?
I wake up in the morning, I'm yawning but still chasing. Sipping on some lean, blowing on some sourdough. Finally got my money right, feels like I won the Powerball.
And something else I want to address, like, I'm not a big computer guy. You know, technology is not my friend. I barely know how to cut a computer on. But people, you know, get on the computer and they said they seen things about a lot of YouTube videos about my fight with Ken Shamrock, and when I did that roll at the end, and people got, you know, slick things to say on the internet, and even Boss Rutan and the other cat that does the show with him on HDNet had things to say. Listen, guys, that was in the 3rd round. It was desperation. I knew the judges were going to give it to Shamrock. I missed the kick on purpose. I've done that a bunch of times in fights and pulled it off. All right, I missed the kick on purpose, hoping that he rushes when I turn my back from missing the tie kick. Okay, when he rushed, I roll, and he walks into a rolling knee bar, or heel, whatever. However he turns is the wrong way in that scenario. He didn't rush. Okay, he wanted to keep space. He didn't want to run up on me, right? So the second roll was a blind roll. I was hoping, well, he didn't come that time. Maybe he'll come this time. And people want to ask, well, why did he do the barrel roll? Well, I've got more leg lock wins than anybody in the world. So you figure it out. And you would think Boss Rutan or the other little nobody that does that show with him would have done some kind of homework. They're working for a national TV. But it don't take a rocket science to figure that out. So it's funny, yeah. It looked funny, it did. But that was not just a barrel roll to have fun or nothing. I was actually trying to bail myself out at the end of the third round. I've always felt like you give people power when you ask for a fight or where I want to fight so-and-so. And I've never been that guy, for sure. I'll fight anybody, and I've proven it over the years, as long as the person's right. But, who I want to fight, the people that's tearing it up right now, I'd like to rematch with Ben Rothwell. I'd like to fight Mark Hunt. I'd like to fight Bigfoot Silva. Those guys, I'd like to get a chance to go with those guys that are in the current top echelon of people and see, if the people's elbow and the other things and the fancy, silly things that I do in the ring, I want to do it to them. I want to make them look bad in front of a million people on pay-per-view. You know what I mean? See if they can get me up out of there.
Maybe then you get the picture when we come through dumping on you and them suckers with you pussies.
I am MMA. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to find me a fight. Nobody wants to fight me. All right? When they give off the list, hey, here's guys your possible opponents are. Johnathan Ivey's at the bottom of the list. They don't want to fight me. So I've been refereeing, judging. I've been doing a lot of things on the side because, MMA has paid my bills for 15 years. My homeboy the other day is like, how does it feel to like, you could have been a millionaire, Ivy. If you would have took MMA more serious, you could have been a millionaire by now. You could have $1 million in the bank. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is, I'm 5'0", a little short, fat guy from Middle Tennessee. I wasn't supposed to have 100 professional fights and fight all over the world and stuff. All right, I've made a lot more money in this sport than I was supposed to. The way that I think. But it's nice that people give me that benefit of the doubt and think I could have made millions of dollars and done this and that in the sport. That's sweet, but I look at it like the glass is half full. I've made more money than I should have.
I hear them cheering for the fat man. They love fat man.
Just more of the same, the same Johnathan that I've always been, as far as taking fights and showing up and making anything a competition, whether or not I've got time to train or not. These guys can't get me out of there. If they beat me, it's because 3 guys in suits sitting outside the cage said in their opinion they won. Okay, that's not beating me. All right, when I win a fight, it's in the first round and I get him up out of there. So, the fans in Tennessee that follow MMA just expect the same as it's always been. I'm going to put on a show, period, and that's what we got going on, more the same.
Before I had a cell phone, I made it off a pager. It's old school.
Over the years, I've had 1 million sponsors. And I want to thank everybody that supported me and backed me, even though I'm not the typical image of an MMA fighter. Even Caged Up Magazine have took me under their wing and did it. And, I appreciate all the support.
Been doing this a while, in case you didn't notice. That old money, some of it's older than Hulk Hogan. And speaking of the Hogans, I'd fuck Brooke today, then videotape it and get famous like Kim K. Makes me think about Kanye. Man, I make that good music. I make that kind of shit that drive the whole hood stupid. I found